All right. Can you hear me? So this is where we're going to start the day. Um, so if we were going to be going lower, I think it would have been yesterday or overnight. The reason I say that is on a weekly here. You can see overnight. This is 8:30 on Wednesday. Yesterday we had a pretty big drop off. You can see right here on the monthly. That was Tuesday. So yesterday was a trend day. Yesterday was a day when we had a lot of volatility. So the expectation today is that we don't. We have some sideways consolidating type action. And where I am coming up with this bullish bias is right here. So we had this big drop yesterday, and then we attempted to get below weekly prior value area low, and that's going to be excess. So if sellers were going to show up, this is where it would have been. Buyers were able to defend that level, came back up. So the expectation is we're going higher. Again, I expect some consolidation today, but the overall trend to me is bullish because of that. We are still in an uptrend. You can see here on the yearly, we are imbalanced up. On the quarterly, we traversed the entire area on that big pullback, and now we're kind of sort of in the middle. Not too concerned about that because we're doing more of a scalping type of approach, intraday positions. So really the quarterly is not going to be as important as, say, the monthly or the weekly. The main bias I have right now is coming from, let's say, the yearly, quarterly, or the yearly, the weekly with this excess. And then on the monthly, where we came down, we tested VWAP and may have a nice rejection right there. So essentially, we're bullish because we had excess below monthly VWAP and weekly prior value area low. So that's where that's coming from. So let's go on and let's take a look to see what we have here on the 30th. 9:15. So we're going to play this at 8:30, and I want to walk you through my thought process. So again, if we were going lower, I think it would have happened yesterday or overnight. We have excess below weekly prior value area low, giving credence to longs. The plan today is to go long, but we need a good pullback before we can do so. Range expansion yesterday, so gearing up for some consolidation today. I would caution going long at the low volume node around weekly VWAP. Seems like price is having trouble breaking that area. If we are going to go short at that level, we need some short-term structure on your side with absorption. So this is where we're going to take a look to see what's going on. So I'm going to play through it and walk you through my thought process on these different trades. On the TPO chart, you can see right here, give me a second, let me start on the 6th. TPO chart, essentially we're going to be starting right in the middle of the TPO. So just assume, more choppy action since we're going to be right in the middle of the TPO. And then we're going to have some low volume nodes on the top and the bottom that we're going to be looking at. And that's essentially where we're going to be taking some of the trades. So give us a second to load with the TPO. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to hit play. I'm going to do about 30 times. Give everything a second to catch up. Don't mind that trade right there. That's just one that just testing out something. All right, so here's the bottom of the CVA. This is too early to take a trade, but okay, essentially where we're at. We're opening right here, okay? I'm not going to be taking any swings inside of this crazy thick volume right here. If I am going to take a trade, it's probably going to be towards this down here. I would love to see a test of the weekly prior value area low again. Now, keep in mind, we did try to take a peek below that and fail, which is why we're giving more credence to longs. This, I could go long right here, but right after the open, that's kind of risky. And again, we're right in the middle of the distribution and right at the point of control. I mean, Jesus, right there since the overnight. So not going to be taking any trades right there. It's just simply too risky. Where I may get involved. I know you can't see it on the TPO, but right here, there's some thinner distribution. Basically, there's two different distributions on the TPO, and this is the middle of it. So anyway, let's press play here, and let me just kind of walk you through the thought process of these different trades. Letting price do its thing. We're on the open. Coming up to these thinner areas up here. But still, we're within that CVA, you know? So this is a CVA. Expect chop in between that. We did have that double distribution, but it's all within the same CVA. So it's kind of tough to make heads or tails. But again, we are going bullish and would love to have a pullback before doing so. One thing I did want to caution was the low volume node. Let's just play here. Let's go 30. Not getting tricked by any potentials here. Again, we're at the bottom. You can start to see some absorption right here. For maybe taking a long, we're at the bottom of that CVA. Again, I would like to see a deeper pullback, just because we're in the middle of this distribution. So again, it's just a very thick area to expect a lot of chop, which is why I didn't take that trade. Doesn't mean it's not a good trade. It's just I'm not quite there yet to take those. But you can clearly see all of this absorption here from the selling. Essentially what happens is the price falls down. You have a lot of sellers right here, negative delta, and it's being absorbed by a lot of passive buy orders. All right, so that's why we didn't get there, but you can still see the clear absorption. I just didn't feel comfortable taking that trade. I would have taken that trade pretty much like right at point of control, which is just risky. I don't have any stats on that, not that you need to, but it's just not a trade that we're going to be taking right now. Just chopping around the opening range there. You can see we'll see if this is initiative or absorption, if price passes right on through that. Got some absorption at the top. Looks like we're going to be playing around in this area for a little bit. Just simply chop. You can start to see here we're getting up to the thinner areas for distribution. Pretty thick still on the higher time frames, but on the lower time frames, there's not a lot of volume right here recently, at least. We're just going to let price do its thing. This is an area where you just don't get involved. So anything that's going on right here is sort of irrelevant. All right, so here we go. Now we're breaking out of this range right here, okay? Breaking out of that. We're still within the distribution. And let me actually, all right, so if you can tell right here, we're at 216 is sort of where that distribution on the TPO comes into play. So 216, let's see where that's at. We're at 216 right here. So we're filling in that area. Yeah, that makes sense. So before we can traverse the entire area, we need to fill this in a little bit because that was a low volume node for the TPO, not the right nomenclature, but you get the idea. So we're filling that in before we go higher. I don't remember exactly where we take the trade here, but I'll hit play. Okay, so we've got a trade right here. So the thought process on this trade was we're breaking above this distribution right here, where resistance, which was once resistance is going to become support right now. So I'm taking the trade. This is where my stop loss is going to be. We'll hit play. The anticipation is that we're going to get to the top of CVA, maybe even break out. That's low expectation of that because, like I said, the expectation is consolidation. But let's hit play. And I'm currently right now moving my stop loss with structure. That's just the easiest way for me to do it. give it a second here. So that's where I moved my stop. I mean, I'm going to be pretty aggressive with that. I'll take maybe two swings at an idea, but I'm going to be pretty aggressive with moving my stop loss just because in this scalping environment, I want to protect my gains while I have them. And usually when price breaks structure, that's a sign that at least on the higher time frames that there's not going to be follow through. So made 12.5 points so far on the day. We're going to let price do its thing. We just had a long idea. We're still going to be long bias. I could have taken this short right here. You did see a little. No, you actually didn't see a whole lot of absorption at the highs. So I'm not interested in taking that short just simply because, one, it's tough to switch your bias from long to short so quickly, but also we didn't see a lot of absorption up here. So price is likely going to revisit that area. So it wouldn't have been the greatest short in the world. But I am cognizant that we're at the top of the CVA. And if we are going to see rotation today, the expectation is we're going to traverse down to the bottom of CVA, or at least follow our stop loss and try to attempt to do that. I do think I take a short here after we get structure. So for me to take a short, there we go. You see this pretty aggressive downtrend, this rejection from the top. And essentially my thought process here is we're entering into this distribution again. So if you can take a look at this, even though we're inside of the CVA, if that didn't exist, you sort of look at this as this was an area of value right here. We broke above that, right? And since we rejected the top of CVA, and there's a lot of moving parts here, rejected the top of the CVA, we come back down into value. My expectation is that we are going to traverse at least this area of value and maybe get to the bottom of CVA, maybe have a continuation lower. You just don't know yet. But essentially right now what's going on is we're getting into this value, and I want to take advantage of it because we broke. This is going to be excess, right? And this is a pretty quick move up, pretty quick rejection right back down into this level of value, and I'm taking that short, anticipating that we're going to be going lower. So you can see here, this is initiative. If price gets stalled right there, that's initiative. So now that's absorption, but this is going to be initiative. We're playing 30 times speed, right? So this is where it gets kind of hairy. And these rotational days, you're going to have to be quick on switching your bias, being cognizant that we're approaching the bottom of a CVA area. Let me see here, right there. Pretty thick volume, but on these plays, this rotational, you're going to be in thick volume. You're going to be in thick volume. If you are in thick volume, you basically need to have a green light from everything else that we're using. One would be structure. You really lean on structure. And I didn't take this one right here because we didn't have the absorption at the top like I'd like to see. But right here, we entered back into that value area, right? We got some structure to lean on to put our stop loss, right here. Maybe got lucky with it not tapping it right there. That happens sometimes. But you weren't leaning on the volume profile as much or at all right here. Well, I guess you sort of were. Look over here, right there, where I took the trade. That is pretty thin, but not in the overall context. It is thinner on the short term. Anyway, 13 minutes into this. Let's keep it going. So we're going to get some structure here. I'm going to place my stop loss right at that green line, right above the 24-hour VWAP. All right, we got stopped out. And this is where, hey, we're at the bottom here, man. We're at the bottom of CVA, okay? We've got pretty thin volume on this, which is the middle left is the 4-hour. So you got the 4-hour right here. You got the daily, okay? Right here, right at the bottom, you got almost nothing down there. You've got thinner volume right here. So we are going to be relying on this pivot point and then also the rolling pivot. We're at the bottom of CVA. We basically have confluence through a couple different levels that give us the green light to potentially go long. So I don't know if I waited for structure right here. It would be fairly aggressive to go long, This is technically a double bottom, but in such a tight range, you like to see price retest that just to be safe. But let's see what I do here. So far we're up 44 points on 2 trades. Pretty good considering this is a rotational day. Oh yeah, give me some of that structure. Yeah, there we go. So we did. I waited for a little bit of structure here. Okay, it could still go down, but we're relying on those levels here to hold. We had a little bit of absorption on the bottom, not as much as I would like. Again, I really like to see like this double bottom with a lot of absorption to go higher. But again, with all the confluence of those different levels right here, that was enough for me to take the trade. So, maybe while you're listening to this, make a list of things that are important to lean on. Like here's the 10 things I look at, and I need 7 of them in order to take the trade. If I'm not going to be using low volume nodes over here, like the super obvious ones where everything lines up, like right here, you've got the 4 hour, the daily, 5-day, and 20-day, I believe. And so when all those line up with like low volume, those are areas where you potentially take a trade. If I'm not going to be using that, where I only have like maybe one, right, I'm going to have to lean on order flow, absorption right here. I'm going to have to lean on structure, confluence with different levels, So that's kind of the idea. But let's hit play here and let's see what plays out. I got my stop loss down there. One of the things I'm thinking about, almost got kicked out there. One of the things I'm thinking about right here is, and let me just hit pause. There's these truths from old Barry. So this is August 6th. I haven't done that here yet. Or have I? All right, something I'm leaning on today is found these through online 7 rules of thumb for ES, the ones that I'm leaning on right now, ES and then NQ. They move pretty much in lockstep. There are some differences there, but I think you can apply a lot of these rules to NQ as well. Anyway, we've got maximum 2 trend days per day, or trend moves or significant moves. And we already had one. Which to me is we're kind of chopping around right here. This is 1, this reversal. So we hit the top. That is a reversal to me. And we have a maximum of 2 of those per day. So going back to my rules of thumb that I'm kind of leaning on for a lot of my trade decisions and trade ideas is maximum of 2 trend moves per day. If that's 1, then this is going to be 2. And essentially when, you want to expect a continuation after a reversal. So we had that reversal, came down. This might be the second reversal, which that one usually will stick if it's going to. So either one or 2 things is going to happen. We're going to continue down, or we're going to go up or sideways. It's up, down, or sideways. There's no third direction. So what I'm banking on here is this is going to be the second reversal, and there's typically not a third. And if it is a reversal, by definition, it's not just going to stall out and go sideways all day, then I can expect continuation after that reversal, okay? So that's sort of my thought process here is I want to ride this bitch, and this is going to be a very good spot if it is going to reverse to get in. So let's hit play and let's see what happens. I do end up being right on this. I'm going to speed it up. I would have moved my stop loss right here with structure, cleared the overnight high, cleared whatever this line is. We are now imbalanced up on DVA, which is a good sign. DVA is not the end all be all, but it's just sort of a way to categorize where you're at on the chart. So I got stopped out right here, okay? Not a big deal. I took advantage of that. 78 points on the day. It wasn't going to continue, and let's just see what happens. Again, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, this reversal, expect continuation. We may be coming down to chop, but I'm going to use order flow and take a look at volume to find out, should I enter again? And I'll pause when I take that trade and we'll kind of evaluate everything that's going on in a moment. All right. Are we going to hold the overnight high? And this is where the trade management, like, take a look at this. This is where the trade management, it's not going to be perfect every time. If I had kept my stop loss right here, then I would have been up already. I would have been cleared that, but you never know. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Once I get more data on these reversals like that, maybe I am a little more liberal with my stop loss and letting price sort of do its thing. All right, where were we? 20 minutes into this, let's wrap this up. So I think I was talking about the trade management. Again, yeah, that would, here we missed out on some run up, but damned if you do, damned if you don't, trading up your trade management. Other times this is not going to work out. This could come back and I would have given up all that profit. But I do take another swing at this trade here. And let's take a look and see what happens. So laws of market dynamics, we traverse the value area, which makes sense. We had this rejection of the low. We had a lot of different levels of confluence down here. Tiny bit of absorption, but not a ton. And then we sort of tapped it twice, but not really. I would classify that a little more risky of a trade, but again, because of the confluence with all the different levels and the idea that we were going to be more rotational today, gave me the confidence that this was going to go up and more than likely try to traverse the entire thing. So it did, and we'll monitor for continuation after this. Not expecting it, again, because of yesterday was a trend day, but you do want to take swings at those if everything is lining up. So we're getting up to this area where there's not going to be a lot of volume up there, so potentially good areas to take swings at. We're inside the CVA. Let's take a look. We're not going to take a short right here. That is a low volume area, obviously. This is sort of uncharted territory. I don't want to take a short because even though this is going to be a more rotational day, keep in mind, we already hit this level once. We traversed the value area. And so, it's unlikely that we're going to go down and traverse it again. You're getting sort of lucky or more risky thinking you're going to just like go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all day, especially when you've got a bullish higher time frame kind of stance on the market. If I was going to take this short here, what I would need to see is significant absorption at the top and some structure along with it. They being, this late in the day, 10 o'clock, and only having 2 reversals in a day, 2 directional moves. So we already had 1. This is 2. Again, 3rd doesn't happen very often, which is why taking a short here just didn't make sense. We're seeing some absorption at the top there. I would be interested in taking a short here. Like I just said, what I need to see is absorption, and then also bearish structure. So, if we started to go down here, start stepping, that's where I would take a short. But right now, just simply not interested because we already took those two swings. Now we're breaking out of that CVA, and we're in this low volume area. We're just moving up. This is more of an initiation at this point because the price is not stalling. Let's see what happens. All right, taking a swing. Right here, let's talk about it. We're at a uptrend, okay? Clear bullish structure, basically from way back, from all the way down here, right? Higher highs, higher low, higher highs, higher low. We're respecting these levels. It's more mechanical today, so larger institutions are probably not involved. So what you're doing is playing the game against every other retail trader moving up. This support became resistance. We've got some resistance right here, breaking up, anticipating this resistance to become support. I've got my stop loss right here. I do think I get taken out, but again, I'm really leaning on that, 2 reversals per day, 2 directional moves, and 2 directional moves, and expect continuation after a reversal. So I'm really just not cool with taking that third short. I'm really leaning on that idea that only 2 happen in a day, which makes sense. Okay, we got stopped out. Again, not a big deal. Gave a little bit back to the market, but we are still expecting that to resume. So right here, you're seeing this. I'm expecting this support, this resistance right here that turned into support. I'm expecting us to hold that again. So I am not waiting for the structure at this point. So it's sort of like, you've got order flow to lean on, structure. Order flow, as in right here, we're looking at absorption versus initiation moves, seeing where the battle is being played out on each of the independent legs. You've got volume, low volume nodes on a couple different time frames. We've got higher time frame structure, so bullish or bearish direction based on that. And then you've got structure and then levels. So it's mainly just putting those together in some way. Sometimes you're not using volume. Sometimes you're not using delta or order flow. You just got to figure out which ones make the most sense in that moment. This one right here, that structure, where we have bearish short-term structure, but extremely bullish medium-term structure. And I'm also anticipating this to be support. So hit play. This is what you want to see. Price is not really stalling around these areas. We're on this new leg here. Seeing some absorption and busting right through it, which is a good sign. Now we anticipate this being support. But I am a little more aggressive because I want to protect my profits on the day in moving my stop loss. I could be a little more liberal. Maybe that's something I end up doing later on in the down the road. But you can see here, this 4th trade, move my stop loss up here with structure. I could have done it right here, but I was, giving it a little bit of room. And because this was a rotational day, I was anticipating maybe us coming back down. I just wanted to take my profits when I had it. I do think price takes off a little bit longer. Again, if I had moved my stop loss around here, assuming that we were going to continue to make these resistance areas that became support, this be support, I could do that. Maybe that's something to take a look at. But for now, I am okay with being a more aggressive, taking my profits for a plethora of reasons. Let's speed it up here to see what price did throughout the rest of the day. Yeah, so we just chopped around, and that ended up being a good idea. I left a little bit on the table, but and maybe we see price take off. We're at noon right now. People going to lunch. Speed it up a little more faster. 12:45. Reject the prior day high, and we bust right through it. Let's see if we come down. So let's take a look here. This would have been really tough. I mean, mainly what you'd have to do is put your stop loss right here and maybe like a runner if you're betting more than a couple contracts. You've been taken out right here. No? You just sort of sat on your hands. Price wasn't really respecting structure that much, but you had your kind of theory with continuation after a reversal and that support that resistance becoming support. Where did we get throughout the rest of the day? Yeah, so we left a little bit on the table with the current trade management. Again, I'm not butthurt about that. This is just data, right? So maybe as you get more confident and get more intuition, get more experience, you'll be a little more liberal with your stop loss in times like this. But all in all, 127 points on the day when it was supposed to be a rotation day is pretty fucking good. So until next time.